I'm gonna be watching a video right now. Just give me a second.
Democrats.
Louisiana state senators have advanced a new congressional map that would eliminate one of the state's two majority black districts. Democrats condemn the proposal as racial gerrymandering and a major rollback of black political representation in a state where black residents make up roughly 1/3 of the population. The plan would dismantle Louisiana's 6th district, currently represented by Democratic Congressman Cleo Fields, and redraw it into a Republican-leaning seat. The proposal now heads to the Louisiana House, where Republicans hold a supermajority. This isn't the only place, Simone, where we've seen this happening. Do you think voters are tuned into this issue?
Yes, in Louisiana right now, there's actually a recall effort to recall Governor Landry over this very specific thing, calling this special session to redraw these maps.
What exactly
in Louisiana,
are they doing?
you need 500,000 signatures across the state. And in the local reporting, and the folks that I talked to just yesterday said that the lines were literally out the door at these petition sites to sign the petition. Now, will they get the 500,000 signatures? I've talked to some voting rights advocates that believe they will. Will the recall effort be successful? Nah, probably not. But it is a good organizing tool. And the reality is that this is an attack not just on black elected officials. This is an attack on black voters, black people, black political power across this country. In Tennessee, that we've talked about, the district that they carved up. The district was represented by Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen is not a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. He's a white man. He just happened to be a Democrat. But what they did to the district is dilute the voting power of black voters. I know people like to talk about my Republican friends. It's not about race, but I can't help but see that when
Zach Sokoloff, the
across the country are making it crystal clear. When they can't win over voters, they'll just try to redraw the maps instead. And Democrats? They appear to be abandoning the old when they go low, we go high approach to Republican gerrymandering. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries told Politico this yesterday, and I am quoting, "We're going to win in November, and then we're going to crush their souls as it relates to the extremism that they are trying to unleash on the American people." Outside of D.C., the state-by-state redistricting wars are accelerating rapidly. Today, black lawmakers in Georgia gathered at the state capitol to protest Republican Governor Brian Kemp's decision to call lawmakers back into special session next month to redraw congressional and state maps. South Carolina Republican Governor Henry McMaster also reversed course today, issuing an executive order calling lawmakers back.
Yeah, so the whole thing is in Louisiana. The maps were redrawn, and in South Carolina they wanted to do it, but
for a special
South Carolina
redistricting session. If Republicans succeed there, the new map could threaten the seat of longtime Democratic Congressman James Clyburn, one of the most senior and influential black lawmakers in the country. And in Louisiana today, Republicans moved forward with another aggressive redistricting effort, advancing a new map that would likely give the GOP another House seat, while reducing the state to just one majority black congressional district centered in New Orleans. Black lawmakers in Louisiana condemned the proposal as a racial gerrymander done at the direction of Donald Trump.
The people of Louisiana are going to remember this. The people of Louisiana will take action. We are setting our state and our country back more than 6 decades. We're going to ram this map down just because one man said, I want this. You got double the number of congressional seats already, but you want another one because your policies are just so great. That must be the reason why we continuously rank at the bottom in education. Your policies are so great. That's why we do so great at healthcare and economic opportunity. Your policies are so great. That's why people are moving to Louisiana in droves. They can't wait to move here because the policies in Louisiana are so great. Make America great again.
So tonight, the redistricting fight is no longer confined to one state or even one region of the country. With Donald Trump behind them, Republicans in red states appear emboldened by the Supreme Court's decision and the fact that, unless they do something, the voters will remove them from power in Congress come November. They're banking on people not taking notice. But the protests and the pushback proves that voters are paying attention, which is why this moment matters so much. Back with us is Democratic Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey. Senator, as you well know, Supreme Court, the Calais decision weakened Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, basically made it null and void. You warned the country was being sent backwards in time. When you look at what's happening in Louisiana, South Carolina, and now in Georgia, do you believe that warning is already becoming reality?
It is. We are seeing a Supreme Court, like they did in Plessy versus Ferguson, Korematsu. They are sending us back. Progress is not always linear. We've dealt with this before. And what they're doing, in effect, is eviscerating African-American leadership from the very states that were doing it back in the post-Reconstruction period. And so you cannot ignore that truth. They are perfectly, with surgical-like precision, drawing maps to cut out any Black representation that they can. And that, to me, dredges up a history of our martyrs of this nation for our democracy. People who were lynched, beaten, disappeared like Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner. They are dredging up a really bad history as they change these maps that sends us back. And the only choice we have is take a lesson from those martyrs and those who sacrificed, a lesson from those on the Edmund Pettus Bridge who tear gas and billy clubs tried to beat back, a lesson from those in Birmingham who dogs and fire hoses tried to beat back. The lesson is we have overcome in the past and we can overcome now if we take this election coming up seriously and get ready to fight, to organize, and to mobilize.
Let me get your reaction to something that Janae Nelson, the leader of the LDF, their big dinner was tonight here in New York. The theme was "This is our democracy." And in her remarks, she said something that I thought was very powerful. She says, "We are not full citizens if our vote doesn't carry equal power to elect our own representatives. Elected leaders like those in Tennessee who stood up to tyranny can be stripped of their responsibilities, and we are not full citizens if we are punished for collectively using our vote to fight injustice. The most sacred parts of our Constitution are under attack, due process, so on and so forth." I mean, the key thing, we are not full citizens if our vote doesn't carry equal power.
It is 100% true. Even in Rucho versus Common Cause, when the Supreme Court said we can't do anything about partisan gerrymandering, but it is anti-democratic. The story of America, from the suffrage movement to the abolition movement, has always been about trying to bestow upon Americans equality of rights. The founders, as Martin Luther King said on the March on Washington, is a promissory note you wrote when you said all are created equal. And what we see time and time again, unfortunately, is leaders who try to thwart that democracy by trying to take power and concentrate it for the few against the many. And so they're trying to draw maps so that minorities of Republicans can still hold a majority of the seats. That's what's on the line here. This is not politics. This is not left versus right. This is democracy versus going back to a time when we did not have it. The only way we can meet this, though, is to take the lessons from the people who stood up, who were sick and tired of being sick and tired, who said we're going to make a way out of no way. This is really some time that we have to, all of us, decide what kind of country are we going to live in. Are we going to continue to go down deep into the quicksand and have our democracy swallowed up and lose what we take for granted, or will we fight for it?
Time for one more question, and this has to do with Fox News host Jesse Waters. He made a rather foul comment today about Black Americans. I want you to listen to what he had to say. We'll talk about it on the other side.
I did some research on the blacks, as Judge Jeanine so eloquently would say. The solution to Hakeem's problem, this gay Obama, is baby making. Blacks, for 150 years, have only represented 10 to 15% of the American population, okay? That's not that much. So if they want to have more seats, they got to get in between the sheets.
I wanted to play that, as offensive as that is, so that the American people can hear what's being said in other places about fellow Americans, about us. I mean, you talked about how people need to stand up, and they'll stand up at the ballot box. But what are Democrats going to do to push back against, there's no other way to call it, but a power grab by people who want to not only limit the votes of fellow Americans, but specifically want to limit the votes of African Americans, not only limit their votes, but take away their representation? What are Democrats going to do?
So first of all, I'm sorry, that was grotesque. And I pity him for having such a thwarted view of the world that he sees it as us versus them. It is the blacks. Not fellow Americans, not love thy neighbor, but those other people who are trying to take something from me. That is such a dangerous perspective and in my opinion, cancerous one that is fueling the problem we have right now. And I know it's about the Democrats, but I'm one of these people that thinks the Democrats need their comeuppance as well. I get tired sometimes when I see the black legislators having a rally. No, I'm sorry. That's not what I came from. My mother told me stories about her sit-in and joining with people at Fisk. It was a rainbow coalition of people who finally understood is that, as James Baldwin wrote to the great Angela Davis when she was arrested, if they come for you in the morning, they're going to come for me at night. There are great leaders who make us understand that that poor Southern rural person who happens to be white has as much of a common cause as an urban African American, that the immigrant and the Native American and the white American join common cause. The story of this American is fighting against the disgusting perspective of him and understanding that we are all in this together. And there cannot be a democracy secure for anyone unless the democracy is secure for everyone. This is not a black problem. It's not a Democratic problem. This is an America problem. And so rally now. What side are you on? Those trying to tear down our values and our ideals, or are you going to start standing up and fighting for your country? Because I'm telling you right now, we're seeing the signs of a nation in danger. The warning signs are everywhere. Are you going to sit on the sideline and watch, or are you going to fight for your country? Because everything every American has right now comes from folks who stood in times of crisis and fought for them. And everybody in this nation benefits from black scientists and inventors and people from different backgrounds. We're all in this together. And I will fight somebody like him, not in a physical way, but in a moral way. We will match his rhetoric with our ability to stand up and act, to take back our country and get it back on track.
Senator Cory Booker of my home state, New Jersey, thank you.
Nithya Raman will say anything to get elected. First council candidate Raman supported the people's budget. Then, once elected, council member Raman voted to hire hundreds of additional officers, increasing the LAPD budget. She can't be trusted.
Watch what snoring does to your brain every night. This is what a snorer's brain looks like after 10 years. Most people think.
In a previous video, I mentioned how Donald Trump sat down for an interview with MAGA Fox News host Sean Hannity during Trump's overseas visit to China. During the course of that interview, Hannity, who is one of Trump's most devout supporters in media anywhere, became visibly frustrated and annoyed with Trump when it became obvious that Trump had accomplished very little of productive value in his negotiations with Xi. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, folks, as the New Republic notes, Trump even pissed off Sean Hannity with his latest Iran talks. Fox News' Sean Hannity is tiring of Donald Trump's non-answers. In a new interview between the pair aired Thursday evening, the longtime face of the conservative news behemoth appeared visibly frustrated and irritated that the president would not directly address the war in Iran. So I want to play some clips of that exchange. Again, ASIN of Midas Touch, and kudos to him and Aaron Rupar for putting these clips together. But even ASIN notes this is one of the few times I've seen Hannity frustrated with Trump's answers. So let's look at this, okay? And remember, Hannity is a close supporter of Trump. He's a close advisor to Trump. It's in Hannity's best interest to stay in Trump's good graces. So he has to be careful about expressing his rage and frustration. But it is obvious. Check it out.
The country's decimated. You know, they're charging bills. Where's the money going? Do you think President Xi and China have the ability to influence the Iranians, considering they are one of their biggest customers?
Look, he's not coming in with guns. He's not coming in with rifles. And not coming in shooting. You know, somebody said he's been very good. They get a lot of their oil, 40% of their oil from that location. So what has happened, and one thing I think that we're going to make a deal on, they've agreed they want to buy oil from the United States. They're going to go to Texas. We're going to start sending Chinese ships to Texas and to Louisiana and to Alaska. And I think that was another thing that was agreed to. That's a big thing.
Hannity's unimpressed. More on that in a moment. We have some other clips to play. But you see, Hannity is one of the few MAGA hosts at Fox News. I think Laura Ingraham is another one. Maria Bartiromo is another one. So it's basically the three of them who don't just simply kiss Trump's ass. They kiss Trump's ass with a strategy in mind, right? So Maria Bartiromo, Sean Hannity, and Laura Ingraham are all MAGA Fox hosts, but they want Trump to genuinely succeed. And they are smart enough to understand when Trump does something stupid or unpopular. They're going to be delicate about how they cover the subject if they choose to cover it at all. But when they sit down for interviews with Trump, as all of them have, they also try to guide Trump. They're thinking to themselves, this guy's an idiot. He has no concept of strategy, but he has charisma and he's a cult leader of the Republican Party. And if I want my preferred policy outcomes to prevail, if I want to own the libs as much as I do, I need Trump to do the smart thing. And Trump very often does the dumb thing when left to his own devices. So they'll ask leading questions. They'll ask guiding questions. They'll try to kiss his ass, but also massage him in a more productive way. Unlike somebody like Jesse Waters, for example, who just, or Brett Gutfeld, where all they do is kiss Trump's ass, right? That's it. Just effusive praise. For Hannity, there is an ideology behind it. Like Hannity is genuinely a conservative, or Ingraham, or Bartiromo, and they want Trump to do things that they want, which will benefit them and their political movement. The reason that Hannity is asking Trump about this and about whether or not he broached the subject of the Iran war with Xi is because Hannity knows, and it is a fact, that Trump is losing the war against Iran. Now, Hannity would never publicly acknowledge that, but he sees the polls, he watches the news, he understands the coverage. Trump is getting humiliated on a regular basis, that Trump has been debunked on a regular basis, that Trump has constantly moved the goalposts on a regular basis, that Trump is contradicting himself on a regular basis. Hannity also recognizes that the economic consequences are staggering and the American people are correctly blaming Trump. In other words, Hannity knows that Trump is in a political disaster of his own making, and it's likely to cost the Republican Party the House, if not the Senate as well. Hannity wants to prevent that. So basically, he's trying to pump Trump. So did you ask Xi Jinping, who has influence over Iran and a war you're losing, what's he going to do about that? I mean, he has a lot of influence over Iran, and he's pissed off that Trump is giving these evasive non-answers. Like, dude, did you talk about this or not? What can you tell our viewers so we can hopefully spare you from the political consequences in November? That's why Hannity was like, I'm not talking about guns, but what about influence? I mean, what did Xi say? That's why he's annoyed. But there are other clips as well. Let's take a look about this particular line of inquiry.
He's been very good. They get a lot of their oil, 40% of their oil from that location. So what has happened, and one thing I think that we're going to make a deal on, they've agreed they want to buy oil from the United States. They're going to go to Texas. We're going to start sending Chinese ships to Texas and to Louisiana and to Alaska. And I think that was another thing that was agreed to. That's a big thing.
What about liquefied natural gas? Gas too?
Yeah, everything. Energy. That's the one thing.
You can even hear Hannity is like, he's so skeptically, so dubious. He's like, again, I'm trying to guide you on this. Like, what about liquefied natural gas? You know, Trump is like, sure. Yeah, exactly. 100%. Oh, okay, yeah.
We really need energy. That's the one thing. They have an insatiable appetite for energy, and we have unlimited energy.
Again, Hannity is not impressed whatsoever here. Now, again, we got another clip where Hannity's trying to get Trump to give a concrete answer that will calm markets and the economy and inspire Trump supporters and demoralize Democrats and give some sort of positive spin to this war. And Trump just doesn't get it and just doesn't deliver.
Other countries, Bahrain.
It also helps China.
And we're actually, I told them today, I said, we're helping you. And we're helping you in another way because I don't think China wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon either. I said, just don't go crazy. You don't need them having a nuclear weapon either.
What do you say?
Well, he's not going to respond too much. He's a pretty cool guy. He's not going to say, "Oh, gee, that's a good point."
I think he
might.
You think he agreed?
Yeah, I think.
That was the impression.
I don't think he wants him to. No, he.
It's so funny. He's just like, oh, so China does agree that their ally Iran should not have a nuclear weapon, that they oppose Iran having a nuclear weapon, which is the predicate for this war, at least allegedly. So China co-signs that, right? Well, I mean, she's a cool guy. He's not going to but I looked into his eyes. And what I saw there nothing but love and agreement. So, yeah. Hannity is so desperate here to get something tangible to tout as a victory, and Trump refuses to give it, either because he's too stupid or because he doesn't have anything to give.
I would assume I'm in Beijing if I wanted to buy property near one of their military.
I should say this too. This is where it gets interesting, because here's the other part where Hannity's trying to guide Trump. And we talked about this a few days ago, one of the reports is that China and Trump, during the course of these negotiations, that Trump was going to erode barriers between the U.S. and China, that Trump was going to allow significant Chinese investiture into the United States. And again, China has been doing this for, I called it their Silk, for some reason I had in mind it was their Silk Road Initiative. It's their Belt and Road Initiative. Somebody in the comments in the previous video fact check me on that. The Belt and Road Initiative. So in other words, whereas the U.S. tries to more easily project power and currency, things of that nature, to develop like many African nations and things of that nature, and again, other countries across the planet, to get these countries indebted into China and to provide natural resources as well. So again, the U.S. likes to project more hard power. China over the past several decades has been projecting diplomatic and economic soft power. This is relevant for this clip because the rumor was that Trump was going to allow, and it's credible reporting, and that spooked Laura Ingraham and Megyn Kelly and obviously Sean Hannity here, and he's terrified, and he's trying to guide Trump to what he believes is the correct answer. The reporting was that Trump was going to allow China to significantly increase their actual footprint and their ownership of U.S. property.
Websites your competitors don't want you to know. Part 2.
All you do is go to this website.
With the top candidates running for Los Angeles mayor. We're doing it with the incumbent and the front runner in the race, Mayor Karen Bass. She is Rascal with another conference joining us. Mayor, let's get right into it. Sure. When I interviewed you at the one-year anniversary of the Palisades fire, you told me that you were a little surprised that so much of the anger about the fire is still directed solely at you. And it seems like that anger has now encompassed other problems facing the city: homelessness, Hollywood production, crime, all directed at you. How do you convince such an angry electorate that you deserve 4 more years?
Well, first of all, it's super important that I explain about the accomplishments that have been done. The fact that homelessness is down 17.5%, 2 years in a row. It's the first time we've seen a decline in street homelessness. Around the country, homelessness went up 18%. Crime is down, 60-year low in terms of our homicide rate. We go through spikes here and there, and when we do, we respond aggressively. But also the alternatives, so that you don't always have to have a police officer. Increasing the hiring of police, but building 42,000 units of affordable housing, because we know that the number one issue in our city was 4 years ago and it is today is affordability. The part that we can control in the city is the cost of housing. And all of that has taken place under my watch. I want to make sure that we can move forward and complete what we started and prepare our city for a very successful games, which I know we will have.
On homelessness, I know that street homelessness is down, but roughly 40% of those who have gone through Inside Safe have ended up back on the street. What is being done to address that?
Well, first of all, the number one thing that has been lacking is the services. So once we get people off the street, making sure that we address why they fell on the street to begin with. Josh, 60% of the people in Inside Safe have remained housed. I think it's really important to build on that success. But what LA needs to do in the next 4 years that I plan to accomplish is building out a more cost-effective system to deal with people when they get off the street and not put them into permanent housing immediately. You can't go from a tent into an apartment and expect to function on your own.
Also on homelessness, at the pantry earlier this week, you were talking about comprehensive health care for the unhoused. And you talked about how many of the unhoused, because of their meth use, lose their teeth.
That's right.
Who would pay for the dental care for the unhoused?
When I say comprehensive health care, it's actually what people can get from Medi-Cal. The problem is that the linkages it made with the people and the services. And so that system, well, we already pay for it. It's already paid for. It's the linkage that hasn't happened.
The reaction to that, though, was why isn't the mayor doing more to address the meth use in the first place? What are you doing to address the drug use so we don't have to pay for dental care?
And let me just 100%. Let me just tell you that when I came in, we started, even though it is not the city's role to provide health care, it is the county. That was not enough for me. I said we have to provide it ourselves. So we took lawsuit money from tobacco and we established contracts with drug-related organizations, substance abuse organizations. And so some of those people we can refer to a drug treatment program. The issue with dental is that you want people to be productive. You want them to have a job. You want them to no longer need public assistance. So while someone is in interim housing waiting for permanent housing, let's us help them get their act together so they will be successful and down the line will not need public assistance at all.
Is the current size and hiring rate of the LAPD sustainable?
No, well, the current size, no, we need to have more police officers because for Los Angeles, we have a relatively small department. And you know what? You're going to pay one way or another. You're going to pay an overtime cost, and you're certainly going to pay in a compromise of quality of life of individuals who say the police don't respond. And here we have the games coming up. You know, we had a couple of spikes. We had some robberies in the valley, and we aggressively responded to that. And when those spikes have occurred, occurred, we have been able to eliminate the cause, meaning catch the people that are involved in crime. So we need to continue to grow our police department. But one thing we cannot do is allow the department to shrink any further. And hopefully the city council will approve the money that was put in the budget to hire police officers.
Let's talk about that. So much of your strategy getting things done at City Hall has been this idea of locked arms.
Yes,
but
and collaborate.
But especially lately, there's been a number of instances where members of the city council have voted against some of your proposals,
Right.
and some city council members won't even enforce 4118. Are you reaching a point where you sort of have to go at it your own, or you're growing more and more frustrated with the fact that the city council is just not always endorsing what you want to do?
No, well, first of all, that's our democratic process. But let me just explain that I feel in general, I work very well with the council members. Of course, we have differences. And of course, to get something done, if I need to work around them, you better believe it. But I don't think that that's going to happen this time in the budget. I think the council realizes that we cannot save money based on.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a cup of water. I'm getting some water. Yep, I'm getting some water. I'm gonna go use the restroom real fast. I'll be back. I'm gonna go use the restroom.
on the back of our public safety. We cannot compromise public safety.
Why do you think someone like reality TV star Spencer Pratt is doing well in this race?
Oh, I think he's tapping into the anger and frustration that people have. I think he's doing that. But I think we're a celebrity-driven culture. The fact of the matter is, though, is that I've been on the job addressing the concerns of Angelina Mills. Streetlights has been a major challenge. For years and years, we just kept replacing copper lights, even though we knew the copper would be stolen. And so I rolled out establishing and installing 60,000 copper lights. As a matter of fact, I'll be doing that later on today. So why would we continue to replace copper with copper? Solar, we meet our environmental goals. Plus, there's nothing to steal. We're installing these lights several hundred over each month.
Do you think that Spencer Pratt knows what it takes to run the second
I don't think
largest
he has a clue.
A clue about what?
How to run the nation's second largest city.
And why are some Democrats supporting him?
Well, I mean, we'll see. The election is, ends on June 2nd. We will see. But I will tell you that we started a job. I want to be able to finish this job because we should not have street homelessness in the nation's second largest city. We made some bad decisions a couple of decades ago. Those need to be rectified. We need to get people off the street. And I know how to do that. We have been doing that.
There's an idea that's been floated about homelessness, and Spencer Pratt actually mentioned this at a fundraiser recently, that he plans to build a massive campus for the homeless on the outskirts of LA, where he would move all the homeless that would be funded by a billionaire. Is that a good idea?
Well, anyway, let me just say that over the last 3.5 years, we know how to get people off the street. We understand the complexity of the problem. Josh, something that you may or may not know about me is that I worked at LA County's emergency room. My patients were homeless. This is an issue that I've worked on for a long time, and I've been so privileged over these last 3 years to actually be on the ground making a difference.
Last question, back to that anger component.
Yes.
Are there days that you feel like the electorate, the people of Los Angeles, that you as a mayor are misunderstood?
Oh, but yes, but on the other hand, I feel like I go throughout the city and receive love from all parts of the city, and that keeps me going. But you know what? I am doggedly determined to do a job, not just talk about it, not tell you about theories and plans and ideas, but deliver results. That's what we have been doing. I want to continue to do that for the next 3.5 years, and I believe that we can get the job done and prepare our city to welcome the world for the greatest games that have ever taken place.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're
I appreciate
welcome.
you being here.
Sure.
We'll send it back to you, Philip.
Okay, Josh, Mayor Bass, thank you both very much. And as we head into the June primary, you can count on Eyewitness News to keep you updated. You can also find more information about the candidates in various races at abc7.com. It has been a wonderful week, and it was wonderful to actually hear some details on what's going on.
More boxes, more options. Grainger has over 1,700 box types in stock. And
hey, Rick Dino from the Bulwark here. Wanted to hit a couple of stories that are breaking this Thursday evening. The first one is just the latest from our friend Cash, the Make-A-Wish FBI director, who apparently took a stop off in Honolulu, where he went on a VIP snorkel at the Pearl Harbor site. That's right, a VIP snorkel. It's been a long list of VIP things that Kash Patel has done. He's not doing the greatest job like identifying criminals and doing counterintelligence, but he's doing a wonderful job taking his younger D-list country music star girlfriend Alexis around the world. It's kind of like The Amazing Race meets Make-A-Wish meets being in charge of America's domestic security and counterintelligence. You might remember, of course, you'll remember, shotgun beers with his buddies, with his friends. He thinks they're his friends. They own the hockey team. They don't know anything about him.
That's crazy.
His real name is Cash Yop. Probably don't know anything about
It's
Stanley.
crazy that he was
Having actual
drinking
bonds,
beer.
tolerating him being around.
Cash Patel needs to get fired.
Shotgun beers. While he's there for the Five Eyes Conference, in addition to taking his girlfriend to Windsor Castle, they also did some VIP jet skiing, went to a Premier League football match. You know, I want to realize, like, this was the Five Eyes meeting. It's a very important meeting of all of the countries that we share intelligence with. And Cash Patel is, like he won the Price is Right Showcase Showdown. He's taking his girlfriend all around Britain. So, I mean, good for him, I guess. He loves being on the water. He's done the jet skiing. Let's hear more about the snorkeling. How do we find out about the snorkeling? The story's out from the AP. When Cash Patel visited Hawaii last summer, the FAA took pains to note the director was not on vacation, highlighting his walking tour of the Bureau's Honolulu field office and meeting with local law enforcement. This is a classic move, where, guys, I gotta go on a work trip, and we gotta stop by Hawaii. Well, I'm there. I'm gonna go meet with the guys in the Honolulu office. I need to see first. We can't have a Zoom. I can't have a Zoom meeting with the team in the Honolulu office. I gotta go see it. I don't suspect the Cash was visiting Fargo office, for example, and it was like, I need to actually be there and put my hands on the people in the Fargo office. It was like, the Honolulu office gotta be there. So there were some questions about this already. The FBI had nothing to see here. Very serious, very real business. A lot of counterintel. Who knows? There might be an Iranian sleeper cell on the beach in Maui, so he had to go to Hawaii. But what they didn't mention in the news release per the FP is that he participated in the aforementioned VIP snorkel around the USS Arizona in an outing coordinated by the military. It wasn't just the FBI that was wasting resources. We had our military members, the members of the Navy, who were coordinating this, making sure that the VIPs got a chance to snorkel. The AP found this out via government emails. They did a public records request. They showed the military officials coordinated logistics and personnel as mentioned for the VIP snorkel. The National Park Service, which administers the site in coordination with the Navy, told AP it was not involved with the Patel swim and declined to comment on the excursion. Among those forward invitations to snorkel have been Navy admirals and secretaries of defense and interior in the past, according to a former government diver. The diver added that traditionally these swims are intended to provide officials with insights into the memorial and the operations, because you can remember, this is the site of Pearl Harbor. This is a cemetery also. 900 Americans died that day in the attack on Pearl Harbor. It was a quote from one Marine veteran in the article Hack Albert said, "This is like having a bachelor party at a church. It's hallowed ground. It should have been treated with the solemnity it deserves." The FBI is not responding to any questions about this. It's not clear what else Patel did beyond the VIP snorkeling excursion. Flight tracking data, the story goes on to say, for the Gulfstream used by the FBI director, showed the jet remained on the islands 2 nights. I spent a couple days in meetings with the local officials there in Honolulu before flying on to Las Vegas, where he lives, and where we discussed for the Atlantic story that he likes to hang out at the Fontainebleau Hotel at the club where he's allegedly getting loaded. We talked to Jim Comey about this earlier in the week. Comey made it such a good point. It's just like the FBI director, if you're going to take this job, this is a 24/7 job. He said he was not allowed to be, and he wouldn't have been intoxicated at any time. You never know when there's an emergency. He said he's not allowed to go on vacation. Jim Comey said he didn't take a single vacation while he was FBI director. And again, this is for good reason. Criminals don't go on vacation. If you wanted to take a job where you were doing VIP snorkeling and jet skiing events and going to down market country music concerts and going to Premier League events with your younger girlfriend, like you could have been at Fox News commentator. Like there are many things you could have done. You could have started a super PAC. A lot of jobs are just a little bit more low impact than being the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Cash did not do that. You wanted a big boy job. You want to stand there with his big eyes and in his fancy costume and pretend like he was a very important person because he has little man syndrome and because he doesn't have the affirmation that he needs. And so we're all suffering the risks and consequences. A little funny side story from the FBI this week. In addition to going on vacations, in addition to allegedly getting hammered, so often sometimes people couldn't find the director, they're also juking the stats on the FBI most wanted list. Like how childish and crazy is this? This is from Ken Delaney over at MS Now. FBI insiders Cash Patel's padding the stats to boost his record of arrests. Of the 6 fugitives caught since Patel took office, 4 were seized within a month of the FBI leadership elevating them to the top of their 10 most wanted list. 2 of those 4 were grabbed within 24 hours of being added to the list. So there's like, we found somebody, we found a bad guy, we know we're about to get him. So we're going to put that person on the most wanted list and we're going to grab him. And then we can say, hey, Mr. Trump, we got one of the guys on the most wanted list. We just added him yesterday, right before we nabbed him. But we got him. It's just such a pathetic scene. And I pray to God for the safety of those of us in the country, that we can survive this, and that the good people that are still working at the FBI, trying to keep us safe, can manage to do so, and do their job while Cash Patel lives out his Make-A-Wish dreams and does VIP snorkeling events at hallowed cemeteries. So that's the latest with Cash Patel. I did want to flag one other story that is out there on Thursday evening. We discussed this on Friday's podcast a bunch, but we've been talking this week about the supposed $10 million lawsuit that Trump had against the IRS for the emotional stress he suffered since his tax returns that he promised that he would release got leaked. And so now we've Donald Trump doing
I think I'm gonna end my stream because I have to go do something. I have to go to a doctor's appointment, and I have to go do something. So I'm gonna end the stream. Cheers, everybody. Ending the stream. Yeah, just stream. Cheers.